in boxing.
You're listening to the Fighting Spirits podcast with me, Gareth Davies. On this episode, I speak to Dr Mark Prince, who oversees and runs the Prince Foundation, which has seen 84,000 teenagers come through its doors in the last 13 years, as Mark dedicated his life to trying to change the lives of teenagers who were perhaps wayward. And it's all in the wake of the death of his son, Prince, who was stabbed to death on the streets of London in 2006. Was a very promising footballer with Queen's Park Rangers, and Dr Mark Prince, of course, was a terrifying fighter in the ring, who challenged for the world title, and is a now brilliant man. He got his OBE just on the day that I sat down with him. We're talking together in the Old Bailey, the UK's central criminal courts in London. So I'm here in the Old Bailey, in this huge vaulted room on the first floor with Mark Prince, who today, Mark, picked up Her Majesty's bauble, if I can call it that. What did that mean to you, and what does it mean to come back here right now to have a reception?
It is such a powerful moment. As you can imagine, 13 years ago, I was pacing up and down. It's quite emotional, really, coming in here and seeing where I used to walk up and down. I'll be pacing up and down this floor with how many different emotions, anger, pain, crying, grief. And you just want to see something happen, but don't matter, even if the guy goes in jail for how many years, you're still left with this pain. So to go through this process 13 years later, when you've had days where you do not know if you can keep going, forget doing anything, forget giving back, forget trying to make an impact on anyone's life, just trying to get through the day. So to be here 13 years later, putting in 13 years of work, reaching out to kids, building an organisation, being ignored, keeping on trying, being knocked back, not having the resources, not having the funds. This is a moment of victory, because what this means is that the tables are turning for my favour now. And I can do the things that I've always stayed committed to, which was bringing people together to begin to turn this whole mindset of carrying knives and using knives to kill people, bring it to an end. Because if everyone is on the same page and the narrative is changed, that it isn't one demographic, this affects all, then change is coming.
You and I are both. I'm a granddad. Are you a granddad?
Yes, I certainly am.
I'm a granddad as well.
I certainly am a granddad.
So we exist as three generations in our own right now, don't we? Yes. So I want to talk to you powerfully today, because I'm kind of feeling tears. I'm feeling the hairs on my neck standing up being here with you, and because I've met you many times, and today I really feel you. I really feel you sitting here, and I feel your grief, genuinely. Genuinely, I do, really. And so I can imagine how you feel. I've just had a grandson, he's 12 weeks old, and I know how I feel about him already. It's amazing. So how you, and you're a fighting man. So I want to take you back to where you grew up and what it was like for you growing up, first of all, and why you became a boxer in the first place.
Well, Gareth, I'm going to keep it real with you. I was taught how to fight from a very young age. I grew up at a stage where racism was just so open and blatant. There was no PC. It was, whoa, get out of that effing country. You'd often hear cars drive by. You'd often be blatantly racist against, whether you were in school or in the shops. And
yet we had ska music and white loved reggae, and yet it was starting.
Integrating, but you still had it.
Yeah.
So I came from that background. So my dad said, make sure you can take care of yourself. Make sure you can fight. So my dad taught me to fight, never thinking that I would become a fighter. Nobody ever spoke about me becoming a boxer. And as I grew up and veered into the world of crime and drugs, and that was based on from being homeless and based on having problems at home, I went into that area of life, the more distant that became of me becoming anything good, using my life to do anything. I started going down that road.
We're in London, aren't we?
Yeah, we're in London.
Describe where we are.
We're in Wood Green, we're in Tottenham, we're in North London, and you know, but those times we weren't so restricted. You know, we could go south, north, east and west. We could go country, Reading,
There weren't cameras everywhere, were there?
There you go. And you didn't have kids coming up to you, asking you what ends you from and looking to stab you because you're not from their ends. So we could go wherever we needed to go. We weren't prisoners to the streets, even though there was quote-unquote gangs, even though there was knives, and even though there was violence. So coming from that world, I had to defend myself. So I believe that the warrior and the fighter was always in me. But then wanting to change my life when I had 2 children made me realize I'm either going to go in jail or I'm going to be dead.
You were seriously bad at that age?
No. Trust me, my vision was about money, getting it the quick way. And there's no shortcuts to life. You can't beat the principles that life's put down to become successful. And I wanted to be successful for my children, and I knew I was going the wrong way about it.
So you could have been dead easily many times, but in many incidents, in many places, at any time of day or night.
Trust me. Even sometimes it was just down to car crashes with my mate in the car driving like he's crazy because some other guys are chasing us in the vehicle, and he's been smoking and drinking, so he's high. And we've survived those incidents, you know. And I've come to the point in my life when I thought, why can't I use my ability to fight on the street? Even though I was just full of drugs, my body weren't in no good condition. Why can't I train myself to become a fighter? And I began to hold on to this vision that I could become someone through boxing. And that began the process for me. And I had to now make a plan, go to a gym, start the process, break nasty habits that were ruining my body. And this began changing my life. And the more I'd done it, the more I realized that, wow, you know, I can do this.
The spirit in a lot of people, the spirit to do like what was perceived as bad, the spiritedness of people can be transformed into good spiritedness, can't it? You know,
because all I'd done was transfer
that fearlessness.
There you go. So it was just transferable emotions, and I'd done it because I put 100% into being in crime. And you know, to go and risk
being the best.
Thank you. To go and risk going into a bank, that's a massive risk. To take money that's not yours. So why not take that risk and put it into your vision, into your life plan, and do something wonderful? And that's what I've done. And it ended up they rewarding me till I won the ABA Londons, and I would turn pro, and then I went on to being Prospect of the Year, and it was wonderful, man.
Because you have a wonderful vibe today about you, but you were probably once kind of scary man. You know?
Oh, very much so. Even it's funny you say that, because Andy Yalin said when I first met you, you scared me. You literally
that vibe that Tyson had coming off him when he was at his most Mike Tyson at his most vicious. You know, and frightening delinquency, I call it sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Because my only thing when I went into fights was I just want to knock you out, wrap this up, and a lot of it was based on fear. A lot. I mean, when you listen to watch Mike talking as well, he had those similarities. A lot of it was based on fear. I don't want this to go on. This guy could take me out. He could ruin my whole plans to change my life around. So I fought out of that fear.
And you know, it's an amazing thing to come through that cycle, come through that tunnel. But then, you know, and it's hard to say this to you and to bring it up. Yeah. You experience what you might have experienced then through your offspring, and Kian loses his life at 15 when he is about to kind of in football, obviously something he really loved. I didn't know Kian, but he must have loved football, no? And he must have been physical like you as well, no?
He was a specimen.
Was he bigger than you?
He was a specimen. I did, listen, the amount of training I done every day with my dad, I don't know where Kian got his shape from. Well, Obviously I do, but he looked phenomenal. I didn't look that good at 15. He had an 8-pack, a solid, distinguished 8-pack. His shape, he worked hard, But obviously, my son took on board what he was taught and how he was given the mindset to be a hard worker to achieve his goals. He took this on from Tracy, his mum, from me, his dad. We were so proud to watch him just flourish and just grow up into a strong young man that knew exactly what he wanted out of life.
Tell me about the day, the incident, how you found out about what had happened.
Listen, it was a phone call of simple words. Kyan's been stabbed. Now your mind is left to wonder, because I asked my daughter, how bad is it? I got no answers. What's happened? Give me some details, something. I got nothing. That's all she knew. So I knew I had to try to be calm and say, okay, you don't know anything, so don't start going nuts and assuming. So I tried to stay calm, but just imagine how calm you're going to be driving from Enfield to Whitechapel Hospital, and you're getting news, you're hearing your daughter in the back seat, all kind of different news. Turn this way, they're at the helicopters coming, let's go back to the school. It was nuts. It was a drive from hell. So to go to the hospital and spend 5 minutes before a doctor comes in, and you're just trying to feel his vibe. What's he going to say? Give me something good. You're trying to pick up something before he even speaks. And then all you get is the words that you never, ever want to hear. And the head shakes. And I'm sorry. I done my best. You do not know how you're going to react when you hear those words. Because my reaction was total shutdown. I done things it's like, wow, I was jumping and kicking walls and full hard 100% punches on solid hospital walls, pounding walls, punching. I didn't. All this rage, all of this, just poured out of me. It was so painful to hear. And then began this cycle that you know that you can't get off this. You're just going to have to learn how to keep going through it, because you ain't never going to get off it. It's just what the choices you make from here to deal with collateral damage. How bad, what are you going to be like after this? I always used to ask the manufacturer of human beings, what's going to be left of me after this? Can I function? Can I laugh again? Can I live life again? Am I going to hear myself having fun again? All these questions come into my head as the days went on, and you realise, what's left of me?
Did you ever feel like, that veil of seriousness that comes down, that it sits, doesn't it? And did you ever wonder if you weren't going to be able to carry on, or even your own life, I mean?
Gareth, let me tell you something. I had days, where I didn't want to go on because I didn't see it was pointless.
Could you get up? Could you get out of bed? Did you have days like that, or not? Well, I mean, I'm trying to paint a picture of, like, obviously it might have been internal, it might have been, I'm not sure.
Much of it was internal, because I just want to stay in his room. You go for a stage where you don't want to be anywhere away from him. The nearest thing you've got is his bed. The nearest thing you've got is smelling his clothes. The nearest thing you've got is just anything to do with him. So that's what you hold on to for a while. But then you start going through this process, because at some point as the months go by, you realise that you're going to have to make a choice. You can't stay here. So there's always that pathway, that crossroads where it's time to choose now. Every path you're on, you can stretch it and keep, whether it's drugs, whether it's drink, whatever it is, but there's a point that it comes to where you know this is going to kill you, or this is going to prevent you from actually making progress in life. And that's what life's about. Doesn't matter what happens, who's dead, if you're still alive, you have to be making progress or you are dead. And it came to that point, was like, okay, I can't stay here in my son's room. So you start thinking about what can you do. And there was no human being that could help me at this point. with answering any questions, because all I heard around me was questions. Why? That was the most popular question, why? And I always thought, well, why not? Why not me? A parent was going to suffer this, so why couldn't it be me? Why do I have to feel myself so special that, it's not going to happen to me? Because that's what we do. We watch the news, we feel sorry for people, but we never ever think that's going to be us. And that's why I got to do this job, because I got to wake people up. My friend, you don't know what life challenges is coming for you next. So care about people, get involved in things, be involved in giving back, having a positive impact on somebody else's life. And I was doing this, Gareth, before my son died, and many people don't know this. When my career ended, when my career ended in 2000, I thought about what I could do. And I said, I want to help other young people.
Because you transformed by then anyway,
That's right. So by the year 2000, I recognized that why don't I go back in my community and help young people who were struggling? Because kids carrying knives was still going on, and kids killing each other was happening, but not at the level that it's happening now. So I thought, let me go and help these young people.
So it has got worse, yeah?
Astronomically, it's ridiculous now. It's like a mad tumour just growing at speed. So, look at the levels of when my son got killed. Look at the numbers then, and look at the numbers now. Even before it gets to a quarter of way through the year, it's at the same numbers that it is years ago when people thought this is terrible, years ago. Yeah. And we're at that number like halfway through the year or quarter of way through the year. So I recognised that I had to move forward. And I spoke to the manufacturer and I said...
The manufacturer,
yes, because I recognise we've all got a designer. These chairs, this courthouse that we're in, it's got a... So why don't we have it? Why don't I understand why someone can't realise that I have one too? If I'm the most unique person made on the planet, because there's only one Gareth. There isn't you, coward of 6 billion people, you won't find another Gareth. So you were designed, Gareth, and you have gifts and talents that only you can give back and only you can do. The way your mind thinks, that's how Gareth thinks. So I recognise that, and I want to give that to the young people, because that's what excites them about their life. What? I'm special. There's a gift in me. There's a purpose I was made. This makes a young person's chest come up. This makes a young guy pull his pants up because it's halfway down his pants. He starts feeling like somebody now, and now we could just guide him into all the different aspirations that we can place in him, all the gifts that he may have had. We can now inspire that in him, and by bringing people together, give him those opportunities, allowing him to meet people he would never normally meet, that could say, okay, we can do this for you, we can open that door for you. That's why this event's so important, because we're bringing people together to allow that to happen.
I'm with Mark Prince, who's been received as OBE today. You're listening to Gareth A. Davies, Fighting Spirits. You say you were already doing the work in a sense. When you made the decision to create No Knives, Better Lives, the foundation. That's here.
From the Old Bailey. Yeah. Mine's Inspiring Future Champions campaign.
You work with him, don't you? Inspiring Future Champions.
I've been supporting Nick Hilliard, who is the highest judge at the Old Bailey, for quite some time now, doing his No Knives, Better Lives project for quite some time now.
Sports, and particularly fight sports, and particularly in certain communities, can heal, can't they?
Yes.
Sport heals, and I think that's the message here from you as well, isn't it? And maybe it's helped heal you as well. It healed you in the beginning, it's helped heal you, but it's also helped you maybe father lots of other sons in some ways. Is that a fair way of putting it?
I'll tell you how fair it is. I'll blatantly tell you, I finished the talk, I had one young girl on one side of me, one young boy on the other side, both claiming, that's my dad, that's my dad. That's how real it is. They feel so connected with you that it's almost like they want to feel like you're a father figure to them. You know, and it's such a wonderful feeling to know that you've made this connection in a short space of time.
Is it possible? I've got a theory that we are, as human beings, genuinely wired for connection. You know, and if you can find that wiring in anyone, you can create that connection and turn the electricity on, can't you? Turn them on,
Certainly,
and open them to just the talent. Exactly.
Yes, what's possible? Because we put so much limits on things as human beings when we don't understand the spirit of us as human beings is limitless. If only we'd allow ourselves to believe, but we put ceilings so short and low on our own lives, Gareth. Imagine if I'd done that. I would have listened to everyone telling me, Prince, you can't do that. You smoke too much. How are you going to go and now fight fighters? You've been boxing since they've been 10, and you've been taking drugs, mate, since for how long? So how are you going to do that? I would have never made a comeback at 44 years old to have 4 more fights and win those 4 fights if I listened to everyone telling me you're too old. But I believed in my vision, which was to build a Kian Prince Foundation, a legacy so young people would aspire to be good like my son was good. And this is what I believed in, so I'll do anything to make that happen.
Are you still a fan of boxing and the boxing world today? Do you follow it all?
Very much so.
Okay, let me fire some questions at you then. How good is Errol Spence as a welterweight?
Errol Spencer is, wow. Look at the way he dealt with Garcia. Did Garcia really win any rounds? He was in the fight because he's a quality fighter, but he was being out-punched. He couldn't even, his punch ratio was probably less than half than Spencer's was. And his punch picking was nowhere at the quality that Spencer was, breaking him down to the body, back up to the head. He had a game plan, a focus. Now there's someone you can bring a young fighter to look at and say, look at this guy, learn from this guy. I love fighting because it teaches you about life. It's not just the fight game, it's the life game for me.
If you could have fought anyone in history, who would you love to have gone in there against and entertained the crowds and the fans?
For one, I regret that the Eubank fight fell through.
Christopher Eubank Sr., of course.
Eubank Sr.
Mr. English.
Yes, I would have loved for that fight because now we could have talked about that fight. So I'm gutted about that. We could have talked about how that fight would have turned out now. Obviously, with my punch power, I would have believed that I'm going to be the one to stop Eubank. And then I had to watch Calzaghe drop him in the first round of his fight and win that fight. And that once again was on punch ratio.
Here's a really important one because a lot of parents will watch boxing and is that your mum down there? I thought it was your mum. She's listening as well. She looks very cool. A lot of parents will worry about taking their children to the gym, and so what's your message to people who would listen to this and wonder, do I really want my child to be punched? Is it dangerous? Because you have a message for that, because there are certain types, hyperactive types, physical types that can't sit still in the classroom. They naturally gravitate towards sport they're kinetic. You know that word? It's kinetic. They like movement. I'm the same. I like movement. You like movement. We're people that like. Even though I'm a journalist, I like movement. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy when I'm moving. I work best when I'm moving. What would you say to parents who've got kids like that about if they're worried about taking their children to the gym?
Okay, the first thing I would say is leave worry outside the door. Fear is not something that you want to help to develop in your young people. So if you're worried about anything as parents, you're passing that fear on to your child. Teach your child not to develop a spirit of fear. Teach your child to be able to have a spirit that takes risks, that lives life to the full. Because if we start restricting ourselves, then we're never going to achieve our full capabilities, because everyone that's successful has taken risks.
Is there a likelihood that if your child goes to the gym and feels that physical confidence, that they will probably less likely to get stabbed in the street?
I'll be straight with you. I was a street fighter. When I started training in boxing, street fighting was over. I started thinking, wait a minute, I thought when I was boxing, I'd probably fight more on the streets. But I didn't have that. Because why? It filled me with so much confidence. I had nothing to prove. I knew I could fight. In fact, it done the opposite. It made me so calm that when other people tried to goad me into a fight, I calmly walked away.
Or you backed out facing?
I calmly backed out.
You backed out facing. You never turned your back.
That's exactly right. And my dad taught me that. You know, so what it does, it fills you with so much confidence. You'll only fight as a way of defending yourself if someone is trying to hurt you or your family member. That's the only time you end up using your skills.
Your mum's sitting down there. What's your mum's name?
My mum's name is Marva.
Marva's sitting
Prince,
down there.
yes.
Marva Prince is sitting down there. Mark Prince, you're here.
Yeah.
Just a final thing from me. Is Kian here with you watching right now? You know, is Kian here? Marva's there. You're here, Mark. Is Kian here somewhere?
A lot of people have this belief. A lot of people say this. I don't roll with that. The manufacturer of human beings says, when you're asleep in me, you are put to sleep. He says the dead know nothing. So for me, my son is sleeping. I'm busy getting on with what needs to be done and doing my role and my place for my son who's not here. We will meet again when the King of Kings comes back to return for those who have been following the way he would love us to live. So I'm going to meet my son again, and I want to be able to show my son and break down what happened when my son was laid to rest. And it's going to be an amazing story, and we're going to rejoice together and have an awesome time.
Mark, congratulations on your OBE, but more than that, on being a great man and a great human being. It's been absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I mean that here at the Old Bailey. Thank you.
So much, Gareth. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I've got a lot of respect for you, brother. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Fighting Spirits podcast with me, Gareth A. Davis. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my website, subscribe to my podcast. I'll be back with another one very soon.